What does it mean to raise an entrepreneur kid? That is what sparked me about this book right here. It is called How to Raise Entrepreneurial Kids by Jodie Cook and Daniel Priestley. But it says in the introduction that raising children and preparing them for life used to be simple. Isn't that the truth? I mean, we live in a very complicated world these days. Teaching them good manners, reading, writing, arithmetic at school, how to dress for a job interview, how to look someone in the eye and offer them a firm handshake. Covering these basics was adequate for a world where people had clear career paths, rarely moved from their hometowns, married young, could afford a mortgage, and had no need to worry about their industry changing rapidly. You remember growing up in a school system like that, right? Like you remember being taught those kinds of things. But the world we live in is not the same as it used to be when we were kids. We know that. This new and complex world poses a challenge for parents. How do you prepare your kids for a world that is constantly changing? And how do you prepare someone to be thrown into a melting pot of conflicting ideas, cultures, opportunities, and expectations? One thing is certain. Okay, Mike, what is this one thing? Tell me, I'm intrigued. The school system is not going to solve the problem for you. Ooh, that can be a bold statement, but I feel like more and more parents are getting on board with this. The school system is not going to do it for your kids anymore. Let me just read on. Schools will largely focus on the same subjects they always have. English, math, art, geography, history, science, music, religion, and the like still make up the bulk of what your child learns at school. There's nothing wrong with any of those, but let's continue. This system faces its own set of issues, but it is one of the few institutions that changes relatively slowly. A school today doesn't look massively different to a school 20 years ago. We are probably some time away from schools teaching skills like negotiation, sales, marketing, finance, pitching, product creation, or strategic joint venturing. But if they did, they would have an obvious problem to deal with. Many of the skills that make you successful in life get you in trouble at school. Ooh, that's some bold words. In business, it's considered smart to get someone else to do your complex homework. You may be rewarded for being disruptive and getting the attention of others. You have to be creative with your approach and should challenge authority and question the status quo rather than simply accepting what you are told. Okay, that's just a really good picture of, you know what, it used to look one way when we were kids, when our parents were kids, but in this ever-changing world we're in, there are some very key ingredients that our kids need if they're going to be set up for success and the schools are not teaching them. These negotiation, to product creation. I mean, I was never taught how to do what I'm doing right now in school. Joint venturing, strategic endeavors, right? There's a lot missing. And so as parents, we need to be aware of this and we need to take up that responsibility to teach our children these entrepreneurial skills. It just breaks down the 4 different things it's going to cover in the book. So the first one is mindset. A defining characteristic of entrepreneurship is freedom. Freedom to make your own decisions on how you spend your time and who you spend it with. If you think about it, the school systems are set up where your child doesn't have a lot of freedom to think for themselves. They are told exactly what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, how they're supposed to do it. And that structure is important for kids, don't get me wrong, but they need to learn how to think for themselves as well. The second one is skills. And I kind of already went over some of this, the marketing, product creation, customer service, deal making, negotiation, and leadership. Rather than purely focusing on the academic skills that are needed to get good grades, raising entrepreneurial kids is about developing the skills that are often associated with dynamic careers. Now, if you want your child just to be, programmed as an employee and then go off to college and continue that programming and just go into a job that is just a little bit meaningless for them, then that's fine. Like, the school system will do that well for you. They will pump out these kids that are just living in that old way of doing things. But, we want the best for our children, right? We want them to be able to have the dynamic careers. And these dynamic careers today are found in creativity and learning your own God-given design and purpose, thinking outside the box. I mean, it used to be where everything was localized, right? Where you didn't really move away, you didn't really connect with people outside of your own little realm of influence in your town. And so you got a good job and you married and you settled down, and that was all fine and good back then. But now we are living in a time and age where a swipe of the finger on the smartphone can connect you to anybody in the world. I mean, we have this network that is a global network now, and opportunities are just off the charts, right? And so our kids are going to be thrown into this world where maybe that's not enough for them. So we need to prepare them to think differently, to think for themselves, to develop their creativity, and not just be told by a boss, their teacher, how to do it and when to do it. They need to think for themselves. Now, this is a huge reason why we have chosen to homeschool, and we will be most likely homeschooling our children for all of their years, because we are so passionate about our children learning to find their God-given identity, and not fall into that trap these days of just being an employee. The number 3 thing that they're talking about in this book is opportunities. We learn by doing. We also learn by experimenting, tinkering, and making mistakes. How to make the most of your own work, the internet, and your networks to get your kids involved, and practice acting like an entrepreneur. So those are all some opportunities that they can have, and some stuff that's going to be covered in this book. And the 4th thing is mentoring. Coaching is based on the premise that the answers are there if you look for them. A coach or a mentor guides kids towards resourceful ideas and behaviors without necessarily telling them the answers. So this is cultivating independence and self-reliance and developing your child's critical thinking skills and be able to choose their own path and make the best decisions accordingly. This mentor is leading by example. Now, yes, arguably you can find that in the school system, but it kind of happens by chance. It might just happen to where a particular teacher that is a particularly good teacher seems to connect with you or your child, and a mentorship is developed, but it is not built into the school system to have that mentorship program, at least at this level that they're talking about, coaching them through life skills. There might be mentors and tutors to help them in their academics. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm really not in the public school system at all, so I may be wrong in this, but what I've observed in different things, people I know, there's really not a lot of coaching and mentoring going on for life skills and coaching them in how to be independent and think like a business owner, an entrepreneur, setting that wealth mindset into them at that young age, which is super important. Once again, that is just something really lacking these days in what our children are learning. And so we need to be aware of these gaps, and we need to be filling in those gaps. Or maybe for some of you, it might actually look like you discover the homeschool route, because there is incredible freedom, there is so much opportunity and joy, so much joy in schooling your children. I've heard a lot of people say, I could never do that, or that's just not for me, or, how would that even work for us? And that's all those thoughts are based off of the school system, because that's all we know. That's all we've been ingrained to think. I don't have time for that. I'm not a teacher myself. All these things. Well, if you're a parent, you are a teacher. Let me just give you that news right now. You better take up your role as a teacher and a trainer, because when you stepped into parenthood, you became that. You are a teacher, and you do have the time, because what takes 6 to 8 hours at school is not at all going to take you that long at home. I mean, you're cutting it down to maybe 1 hour, or just a couple hours a day is really all that is needed. And then what's beautiful is now, because you're not getting ready for school, packing lunches, driving them there, driving them home, extracurricular, and the list is forever long. You're not doing any of that, so now you can actually just teach them life skills. My daughters really love to bake right now, and so we are enjoying that, and they're learning a whole lot about life in that. But you know what? We're also throwing in a lot of math skills, because there's a lot of math when you cook, especially when you're little like that. You're doing life, and they get to see it. You get to just model it for them. And that, I believe, is the best way to educate our children, is that we model that out for them as parents. So tell me what you just got done doing.
So I just got done cooking these cookies.
Was there any adults helping you?
No. She just told us all the stuff that we needed, plus a surprise that is a secret ingredient. And then we said how much eggs and how much peanut butter and all that kind of stuff. And saying on the time.
And Haven, what did you do?
I put the dry ingredients, Ashley put the wet ingredients, and I put flour in, and what's that stuff called? Baking powder and almond flour. Baking powder and almond flour. And these cookies are very healthy for you. Well,
Do they taste really good too?
Yes. Yeah, they do.
Okay. What was your favorite part about making these cookies?
Let me think. I like tasting them. I think mixing all the ingredients and doing all the ingredients. I like licking the things that she put in. I like licking the stuff. You want to know the secret ingredient?
Yes.
Molasses! The secret ingredient was molasses.
Oh, that's a really good choice. So was it difficult knowing how much wet ingredients to use and how much dry ingredients to use?
Well, at first the wet ingredients was like, that doesn't look like enough. So I put 4 eggs in.
Oh, okay. So
I was going to do 5, but then I'm like, I think that's enough.
So you added an extra egg, so it'd be a little more wet.
And it looked a little dry, so I put 1 more egg in and a little bit more molasses in. That's why it says 1.5 molasses and a little bit more syrup in. That's why it says.
You experimented yourself, right? You decided, okay, that doesn't look quite right, so I need to add a little more of this, and now I need a little more of that. So these cookies look so good. Healthy almond flour peanut butter cookies, made solely by my 8-year-old and my 5-year-old, using a very simple list of,
Eggs.
7 ingredients. Now you have some yummy snacks, very healthy snacks for your little sisters when they wake up from nap.
Yeah.
And you also have a yummy treat for yourself as well. Awesome. You know what? Someday we could even make some stuff like this and sell them. Wouldn't that be awesome? Your very own creations. That's how you could earn some money, by creating. This is creating wealth. You made it, and then you can sell it. You designed it yourself, and you can turn around and make a profit off of that. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Good job, girl. I would highly recommend this book. Some incredible information that not only will help your kids, but will probably encourage you as well. Have a lovely day.